So we've understood our issues, we've engaged our stakeholders, we have a common framework for action, but how do we make it so? We can't do everything at once. There will be a logical sequence in which things can be achieved. There'll be priorities that some items have that are higher than others, and there'll be constraints. So we need to come up with a roadmap, a way forward that allows us to empower people to make change and then to hold them account against that to make sure that everyone's happy with how we're progressing. So to arrive at a roadmap, we need to break down the vision components that we've agreed into the enabling components that underpin them. We need to think about what the outputs are that we need to make to enable those things, to look at the outcomes we expect to achieve with those outputs, with those items, and think about the benefits that will emerge from them, or the disbenefits, and then relate those to how that helps us advance each strategic objective. An example is shown here. This isn't the example we've been previously looking at, but it just shows us how we can get from an output like standardized governance inputs and outputs and decision-making prompts through to single version of the truth, line of sight to golden thread, and all the way through to the higher level elements that we're expecting in our vision. So having done that work to break down the vision components into outputs, outcomes, and benefits and objectives, we need to be able to sequence those, and the derivation of those maps will give us a strategic flow. I guess at the outset we'll have a view as to what our priorities are, and I've got a couple of examples. This first one is where the priorities are to deal with exec level challenges first, and then to work on the enabling capabilities later. So, for example, we've looked at agreeing with the board what their main board to portfolio communication solution would be, and then strung out the enabling capabilities to follow thereafter. But as an alternative to that approach, we could start with the enabling capabilities and build up to the exact level capabilities, and that's what's in the next slide. So in this example, which actually relates to the example we've been talking about earlier, we've started on looking at addressing processes and skills and the support level for delivery first. We've agreed that it's imperative to appoint key delivery roles, agree the operating model, and firm up the business plan that will define what the workload for change actually will be. That once that key person's in place and the operating model's solid, we can then move towards instigating a portfolio management based approach and enabling capabilities to allow that, and move on to working with directorates who can firm up on establishment and tracking of accountability, especially for adoption and benefit realization and resource allocation. And latterly, the board will be delighted that the organisation is fit and can then support their expectations for strategic leadership moving forwards. A completely different approach. The approach is entirely up to you and entirely down to your stakeholders and what their priorities are and what the logic and reality of your situation is. I hope everyone will agree that the scenario we've just gone through feels totally normal, completely common sense. We've taken the position of a stakeholder who has spotted an opportunity, sees issues, and thinks that something needs to be done for their organisation from whatever level or direction they've come at this. The scenario we've painted involves engaging stakeholders who can affect these holistic changes and be part of a future ecosystem that connects strategy to delivery and back again more effectively. We've engaged with them to understand their current state and their viewpoint on pains and possible gains. We've worked with them on a high-level vision for what the solution to their pains and expected gains might consist of, and a roadmap for how we might go about that. That completes what I call first steps. We've engaged, we've got agreement to do something. But the next step needs to make that a bit more concrete. We're going to need to spend some money, so we're going to have to work out a bit more detail. We can't work out all the details, of course, but we'll need to come up with a business case to strive for the outcomes and benefits that we see from improving strategy. And we'll need to make a case to build some enablers to get ready for change, to then go through a process of change and an adoption of a better way of doing things. And we'll need to commit to sustaining that with improvements and continued and sticky transformation to a future operating model. So these are the steps, and if you're from a program management discipline, you'll understand this as a program. It's a delivery program. We might deliver it step by step or iteratively, use agile and waterfall methods. It doesn't really matter, but we have the approach which walks through this, and hopefully you'll see this as a process to enable the magic to happen. In addition to the capability journey, we need to go through an information journey. In a first step, we need to get consensus that there is an information journey to go through and have a view as to the scale of the challenge. This justifies some capture activity where we understand what the information is that describes the strategy that we currently have, and understand an index at least of what initiatives we have on in response to that. The clarify step then enables us to beef up the strategy definition that we're currently working to and make it more usable for us, and to list the projects and programs that we have with some basic information about them. The next stage is then to build on that, is to start to relate the strategic objectives to the projects and programs that we have in flight, and spot where we have superfluous projects and programs that we can remove, and identify the important projects and programs that we can perhaps accelerate. Once we have a decent picture of this, we can step into operate phase, where we start to feed in new objectives and new targets and use the infrastructure and information set to operate governance, business integrated governance going forwards.